My name is Jakob Sandel Sørensen. I'm a landscape architect and sustainability consultant with the private Danish practice, landscape and planning practice called Schönherr. I'm going to talk to you about a dream, or rather a project that hasn't been built and probably never will be built. Ørehalen is a vision for the protection of Copenhagen or similar cities from future rising sea levels and storm surges, combining the recreation of lost natural values with the preservation of existing city and cultural heritage, while allowing for new urban expansion, all in one concept. Ørehalen is an opinion piece in an ongoing debate about the future development of Copenhagen. And as such, it has been published in the national press as a comment on existing plans for the expansion of the Danish capital. Denmark is a low-lying country with most of its settlement concentrated along the coastline. It is completely built up or completely cultured. There are no existing untouched natural areas left in Denmark. But the one thing all Danes share is a proximity to the coast. And one of the main principles of planning, regulation and preservation legislation in Denmark has been to preserve the free and public access to the coastline and to the water. In many senses, this is the actual existing Danish version of the Swedish and Norwegian Allemandsret that we heard of earlier. Now, sorry. The capital city of Copenhagen has seen an influx of new inhabitants since the early 90s. This has increased the demand for development of new housing. This in turn has put an immense pressure on remaining unbuilt sites, some of which are sensitive and preserved natural areas. This has led to development projects using landfill as a way to claim new areas from the inner harbor or the Øresund Sea, gradually expanding the city on former seabed and at the same time gradually erasing the existing coastline and its natural coastal landscapes. The method applied when creating new land is the one of hard edges. Okay. There we go. Thank you. Of hard edges, of steel sheet piling, followed by the draining of seawater and the gradual landfill. In recent years, using surplus material excavated during the construction of the seemingly ever-expanding Copenhagen subway or metro. While this method is fast and familiar, it's also both expensive and sadly autonomous, lacking in, you might say, natural or cultural resistance. In other words, places without real context are created. The consequence is the rise of new urban districts with little or no connection to history, or even to their local biological, hydrogeological or natural surroundings. Ørehalen envisions another approach to the development and protection of coastal cities such as Copenhagen. An approach that creates nature before city. A slow and deliberate process using the unpredictability of natural forces as a sensual quality in future urban development. The methodology applied is different. It's a combination of man-made systems, dikes, breakwaters, canals, and floodgates, combined with the natural forces of wind and wave energy and the biological processes of natural succession. In other words, it's building with nature. Doing as little as possible to kickstart a desired process, and then letting nature and natural dynamics do the rest. We imagine building a ridgeline spine, a main dike, a main protection, rising to approximately 5 meters above normal sea level, preferably shaped as a slow and incremental rise of the immediate hinterland. Connected to this, a series of breakwaters, canals, and floodgates are constructed, and in front, facing the sea, a lower, soft dike to approximately 3 meters above sea level is built. And then the forces of nature are unleashed. Waves hitting the shore shape and rearrange the soft structure of the frontal dike. Water collects behind it and creates a new landscape of shallow saltwater marshes, in effect recreating the kind of coastal landscapes that used to be before the city expanded and erased them. Wind, water, and the slow processes of natural succession are left in charge of the shaping and development of the new coastline, creating a resilient and robust series of headlands or marshes protecting the city behind them. This series of headlands creates a buffer zone, in effect a layered defensive line which can be flooded, taking the brunt of the force. The new landfill behind it gives room for new urban development, new housing, and new connecting infrastructure. Or, if left undeveloped or uninhabited, it naturally develops into an area of new natural splendor and beauty, accessible to everyone in the city. All of this protected from future sea level rise or storm surges to the height of 5 meters above sea level. So, the vision of Ørehalen, as I said, is one of nature before city. One of soft and dynamic edges, as opposed to the static walls of stone or steel that traditionally frame our cities. It's a vision that recreates a lost landscape, reconnecting the place with its history, in effect. A vision that allows for future development and urban expansion, but puts the needs of the many before the desires of the few. A vision that gives back free and equal access to the coastline and the sea to everyone. It's a deliberately slow and sensual approach, making the process the actual goal, and leaving the end result less important. It's not when we get there that matters, it's how. Thank you.